Guys, so it's time to talk about another episode of the Vampire Diaries, and last night was actually a really good episode, you guys. I'd say that we've pretty well established the fact that Elena Gilbert without her emotions is not a good thing, right? So the boys are at the point now where they're willing to do whatever it takes to get her to turn her emotions back on. Throughout this episode, we see them trying just a lot of different things. So they've got her locked inside this box at one point. They're not giving her a lot of blood. They're kind of starving her to kind of weaken her. At one point, we see Damon in her head trying to like trick her, and nothing is really working. Caroline comes in at one point and tries to like, let me see her, let me see if I can try, which I just thought was hilarious. The other thing we've determined about emotionless Elena is that she is a complete and total biatch, right? And so she is just awful to Caroline again. And that's the point when Caroline is just like, do what you need to do. Whatever you need to do, you just go ahead and do it. So the boys are like lightweight kind of torturing her. You know, at one point we see them like letting the sunlight come in to burn her. And hey, if you just switch your emotion back on, we'll stop. But she won't do it. And Damon gets really frustrated at one point, and as he and Stefan are talking, he's just like, I don't understand why she won't turn it back on. And Stefan really kind of explains it, you know, that she knows that she's kind of burned all of her bridges. She's ruined relationships. She doesn't have any family left. She's destroyed her house. You know, what does she have left to come back to? Eventually, she calls their bluff, right? So at one point when they're torturing her with the sunlight, the ropes that are holding her to the chair, they start to burn. And so when they close the curtain one time and she's healing and she's laughing because she's crazy, she breaks free, right? She grabs the curtain and she just throws herself into the sunlight and she just catches on fire, right? So of course the boys go to save her. And she's on the floor like laughing at them and basically telling them like, you just proved to me that you're not going to really do anything to hurt me. So I'm not all that scared. And she really has a point. And so they decide, you know what, she's right. Maybe we should bring somebody in that she would be afraid of. And they decide that that person is Catherine. And I really thought it was a really good idea at first. I was seriously like, except for the fact, of course, that you can't trust Catherine. Which she does prove later on in the episode. Besides that, I thought it was a fantastic idea because Elena would be afraid of Catherine because she knows Catherine doesn't care about her and Catherine would just as soon kill her as try to help her. Meanwhile, there was this kind of interesting dance between Rebecca and Matt throughout this episode, right? So we see her drinking at one point because she's obviously upset because she knows she's lost the cure. They interact a little bit, and we also get that Matt is failing a lot of his classes. You know, like that this year has been pretty tough for him. He's been so wrapped up in trying to help his friends that he's not really been helping himself, which is such a Matt thing to do because we know how kind of self-sacrificing he is and that he really is kind of willing to kind of forget everything else and put everyone else before himself. And so Rebecca kind of offers to help him at one point, and I thought it was really interesting. She offers to compel him passing grades, basically, and a scholarship if he would let her do that. And in all honesty, I seriously hope he lets her do it, because if anybody deserves it, it's totally Matt. Of course, Silas is still lurking around, waiting for the full moon so that Bonnie can perform this spell. But Bonnie is plotting, right? So we see her meet with Catherine at one point. She wants Catherine to give her Silas's headstone. And Catherine can't figure out why she wants it, but Bonnie's like, look, I'll make it worth your while. Eventually we find out that Bonnie wants it because the blood of her ancestor, this witch Ketsia, is like, I guess, soaked into the tombstone. And basically, if she has the tombstone, she doesn't have to wait until the full moon to perform the spell to kind of bring the curtain down. Catherine eventually agrees to give it to her, and Bonnie promises her that when the curtain comes down, she would get Ketsia to tell her how to truly make Catherine immortal, like Ketsia made Silas immortal. And Catherine's all for that. I mean, like, because obviously if she's truly immortal, then she doesn't have anything to fear from Klaus anymore. She can stop running. Now, we also get that Bonnie's been hiding from Silas, though, because at one point, I got really excited, right? Because Caroline is around and she goes off to do something and Klaus shows up and I'm all excited like we're gonna have a Caroline and Klaus moment. But then it turns out that it's really Silas disguised as Klaus, so I was kind of bummed by that. But he basically, like Silas, like pretty much torments Caroline the whole time because he's trying to find Bonnie. At one point, too, Caroline rushes home to make sure her mom is okay, and then you're not really sure, okay, is that your mom or is that Silas? And then Bonnie shows up at one point and Silas is there in the house, and Caroline has to go save her mom because he's done something to her mother. And I seriously, you guys, thought that she was gonna die. And I was gonna be so upset if she died. So I was so happy when Caroline was finally able to kind of bring her back. The tears were welling in my tear ducts. Now back to the house, right? So Catherine is there. She agrees to go downstairs to kind of have a go at Elena to see if she can get her to switch it back on. And Elena is immediately awful to Catherine, right? But this is Catherine, so you know she's gonna come back with a little something. So Elena pretty much tells her, like, you're damaged goods, and that's why Elijah left you, and all this other stuff. And then Catherine really, honestly, you guys, made, like, the best point, I think, that has been made in the last several episodes about Elena. So basically Catherine says to her, like, yeah, I've done a lot of crappy and awful things in my life, but you know what I do? I deal with it. I don't just turn it off. I deal with whatever kind of comes my way. And I just thought that was such a great point that she made, that it's like Elena just needs to face it. She needs to face all of the stuff that she's not only done since she kind of flipped her switch off, but also all of the stuff that was before that was kind of piling up. She needs to deal with it. She needs to deal with the fact that she's a vampire and she needs to move on. Catherine also told Elena, like, you delicate little flower, like, you would never make it as a vampire out in the real world. And then, of course, Catherine, because she's evil, basically decides, maybe we'll see what would happen if you really were able to go out on your own. And so she throws her back in this iron box, but she doesn't lock it. So of course Elena gets out. So the boys are freaking. They go out to try to find her. Damon takes Matt with him. At one point we see Matt driving and he finds Elena first, but she's hungry, right? So she bites him. And then it goes to commercial and I was like screaming at the TV. When it comes back, we see that she hasn't killed him, but she's kind of draining him, right? And then she's just looking at Matt like, I'm really hungry and you taste really good, so I'm gonna drink some more. Finally the boys show up, right? And so Stefan stops her and Damon just tells her, like, that's it. Like, I am done playing with you. I'm gonna kill Matt is what I'm gonna do, right? And then we're gonna see if you flip your switch back on. Like, what does that make you feel if I killed your best friend? You know, if I killed this friend of yours. And so you're thinking to yourself, like, don't kill him. Like, are you crazy? Like, you better not kill him. And, you know, Elena's just sitting there and she's just like, you're bluffing. Like, I don't believe you. And sure enough, if Damon doesn't reach up and snap this boy's neck, you guys, I was seriously just like, what just happened? I was completely shocked. And immediately this elicits an emotion from Elena. I mean, she's just like distraught, you know? And as he's laying there dead, you know, Damon is even like, don't you remember, you know, him as a little kid with like a goofy grin and all this stuff and bringing up all these memories for her, right? And eventually we get that he was wearing Jeremy's ring, the Gilbert ring. And so we get that he's dead, but that he's gonna come back. So you're like breathing a sigh of relief. But so is Elena. And you just see all these kind of emotions kind of rolling through her as she like sits there and she's so relieved, right? And once again, big ups to Nina Dobrev, you guys. Just completely in this episode. Not only dealing with the whole, like, emotionless Elena switching, you know, her emotions back on, but also the whole Catherine thing, and the fact that she did a scene with herself, you know, like Catherine and Elena, and I didn't even think about it until later, that, you know, oh my god, that's the same person, but they do such a good job of that. She does such a good job of that. But that moment when she switches it back on, I mean, you get it, and you see that on her face and just in her actions, and it was amazing, right? So she starts to lose it as she remembers everything she's done, all of the awful things she said to people, the woman she killed, and she's just losing it, right? And so, you know, it's really Stefan who steps in and is just like, stop, you know, like, this is that moment when everything comes rushing in. You need to grab onto something. Grab onto that one thing that makes you want to live, right? And so, you know, they're sitting there having that moment and it's like he's helping her to deal with it. And you guys know that I am Stelena, so let's just have a Stelena break. If you're a Delena fan, you could pause the video now or fast forward. But I just thought it was so amazing, that moment. And I think it shows that connection between Stefan and Elena. And it reminded me of the moment when Damon had her switch it off, you know? Like, I think initially when Stefan said to him, help her, and really he said that to him, of course, because of the sire bond, that's what he was thinking. I want you to talk her through it. I want you to, you know, you have that sire bond, you have that connection with her, help her in that way, not in the helping her switch it off, which is kind of the easy route. And so to see Stefan kind of get to do that with her, I just loved that moment, and I think it just highlights that connection between the two of them. There better be some Stelena love that's gonna be happening in the next couple episodes. That's all I gotta say. I love you, Delena people. I really do. Now, as that's happening as well, you're thinking, what is it that she connects to, because we see her grab onto something with her mind and she starts to breathe and she starts to calm down. So we get that there is something that she's holding on to. There's something that she's living for, and you're curious. You want to know what it is. By the end of the episode, we get what it is. We get that she decides that she needs to kill Catherine, that Catherine is the problem. She's the reason all of this started, that if she kills Catherine, that will make things better. I don't know that that's necessarily the best thing for the Elena with emotions to grab onto, but it seems that that's what she's holding on to right now. That's what's kind of keeping her calm. And I guess we'll see if she does it, you guys. I mean, that would just be kind of crazy, so I guess we'll see. I thought it was a really good episode, you guys. I'm glad that Elena has finally kind of turned her emotions back on, because emotionless Elena was seriously just getting on my nerves. It will be interesting to kind of see what the after effects of that are going to be, though, you know, because I don't think it's just kind of back to business as usual with her. I think that the emotionless side of her, or the fact that she lived like that, is going to have an effect on just regular Elena now. So it'll be kind of interesting to see, you know, what happens there. That's it for me, you guys. If you want to check out my review of last week's episode, you can go ahead and click on the video link here. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.